I do not want to mess up. Are you moving closer or farther away from where you were or just in a different area?
Same area. Actually, I'm moving a little bit closer to the girls' school. So, yes, just a little bit closer, a little bit more convenient. Logistically, it's going to work out even better than it was before. So, just that's what's happening. I'm excited about it.
Love it. That is always a win to be closer to the school. I had a debate with my child because she doesn't want to ride the bus this year. I'm like, you're riding the bus. So good morning, Nora. I see Nora is on watching us on KBCN through LinkedIn. So hello, good morning, Nora. And birthday twin. We both have birthdays on August 18th. So Gardy, I'm gonna pass it to you. How was your weekend? I cannot wait to hear it.
Oh man, my week has been amazing over here. So I'm in Medellin, Colombia for my birthday. My birthday was extremely great. The vibe over here, man, is it's just something different. It's just something different, man. I'm sitting as I'm telling you guys this, I'm looking out my balcony and I'm just seeing like the view is breathtaking. And things are extremely cheap over here. The energy is good, just moving around, tasting the food, stuff like that. Honestly, Al, the interesting part, man, I'm still keeping tabs on like certain business stuff. We're looking at like, two apartments. So it's just interesting that I could still, keep up with certain things as long as I have a laptop, good Wi-Fi connection. I could really make some stuff happen. So this week, I'm still in Colombia till next Sunday. So I'm still off from my regular 9 to 5, but I'm gonna focus on, my business and really kind of, just carry my day to day. Like I'm just working on my business full time. And then this is how I wake up and then this is what I do. So, I'm extremely excited, man. I want to figure out how I can stay out here longer, to be honest. But I'm in a good space, man. So vacation is going extremely well.
Yay, I'm excited. And that's what I love about being an entrepreneur, you guys. We can take our laptops anywhere. Anywhere and work. And Gardy, I love how you're expanding in real estate. That is like my last, because I do everything. So that is my last thing to add to it. So I'm definitely going to reach out for you when it comes to that. And I want to say, you guys, me and Gardy have the same birthday, but I think we have two different personalities. I think he's a little bit more calm than me. What do you think, Gardy? Or maybe I don't know all of you.
Yeah, yeah, a little bit, a little something like that. I like being low key.
Yeah, we're completely opposites, you guys. I became low key, so exciting. So John Gardy, my weekend was good. I actually went to my boyfriend surprised me with a trip to Alexandria. So we were at the Sheraton Pentagon. So we were right by the Pentagon, right by the monument, by the Lincoln Memorial. So my weekend was great. I was James before we got on that I drove right into the Pentagon. Did not I took a wrong turn and my shiny unicorn car was in the parking lot. And I was like, "Oh my God." He's looking at me like, "Get out of here." So I don't know how do y'all know how restricted it is? Would they have escorted me off if I would have stayed on there? It's kind of embarrassing.
I'm not sure, but man, I mean, I'm sure if that's happened to you, that has happened numerous occasions to people who just make that wrong right instead of making that left because it's probably unassuming until you up on the property and you're like, dang, this is the freaking Pentagon, literally the Pentagon. So, and people have that same alarm and they automatically start turning around. So they probably very seldom had to tell anybody to get off.
Yeah, John, because the exit, I don't know. I'm sure you know where the exit is, but the exit is right. They're like right close by each other. So I made a right instead of going like like straight, and it was like it was so embarrassing. But anyway, we found our way off of
And
there.
it's a slim. It's a well, I'm using slim. It's a quick right, a slim right. It's
Yes.
not a yeah. That thing is off the right off the highway. You right. If you in that far right lane, you think it's gonna keep straight until you start curving. Then it's too late.
Yep, I knew, I guess from military, I knew like what a base looked like, and I saw the guards walking around, and but surprisingly the parking lot was empty. So I was like, maybe I'm not that bad. But the Sheraton's right by the Pentagon. So we did that. We went to the monument, we went to the Lincoln Memorial, and the Lincoln Memorial was blocked off. They boarded it off. You'd have to go up the stairs to go back to see Lincoln. And the same thing for the White House. Everything is boarded up so tight. You can't really like just go in there and take pictures like you used to do, which is interesting. I don't know if they're building there or what. But that's what we did. I did some shopping. I got me another Michael Kors bag. I'm addicted to Michael Kors. So that was my birthday weekend. And I came back and everyone else is on vacation now. So but we're gonna keep this thing going, you guys. So good morning, Mama Pat again. Good morning, Tammy, Dr. Pam. Hey, Dr. Pam. Good morning, Cindy Lou. Love to hear what time it is. Cindy Lou and Alessandra, because they're on the other side of the world. Good morning, Lisa, Terry, and Luis. Luis, welcome. I want you to join this house. This is my absolute favorite house, you guys. And yeah. So while we're doing that, if you could, you guys take this moment, share out the room, and in the chat, let me know the weather, the temperature, the degrees, and how you feeling. I also want to know what you guys did this weekend as well. And if you're not tapping in to see me on KBC, I feel like it's the Rocky Show. I'm the only one on KBCN. It's a takeover. Just kidding, guys. They'll be back. Trust me, this is not comfortable. But in the chat, let me know where you are, the temperature, the time, and what you did this weekend. I'm interested in knowing. Pretty soon, we're going to jump off, you guys, with Mindset Monday. We got about 5 good minutes, and Coach is going to come on here. Yes, it's magic. James is going to pull up Coach's monologue. And what I'm going to invite you guys to do is to take notes. Coach has a very good monologue, and I take notes, and we have conversation about it. So what he talks about on Mindset Monday is super important. So make sure you're jotting down any questions you have, any thoughts you have, because we're going to have dialogue around it. And then we're going to bring you up so you can have dialogue with us. Anything
Right.
you want to add, John or Grady? Go ahead, John.
So let me ask you this. Do you have your Rodecaster connected?
I do. Does it sound bad?
So so here's the thing.
Oh.
Since we got the takeover, before every major transition, go on and sprinkle your fairy dust. Let's just keep it rocky all day.
It is a flamingo takeover.
Yeah. So exactly. So between every segment, that's how we're going to transition today. We're going to fairy dust them and keep on going.
Yes, with the fairy dust. See, I only act up with my brother John makes me do that, you guys. So if y'all like the fairy dust, put a 1 in the chat. We're gonna keep this thing moving. I love it. I love it. I love it. So welcome Nora. Nora's on LinkedIn, you guys. Welcome Nona and Robert, my sister Lanita. Hey. Hello, Michelle and Rex. Michelle, Rex, I'm going to invite you to Bootstrap in Business and Ministry, as well as you, Luis. There is a way that I can invite you. I just click on your face because you got a red ticket and I hit invite, and then you guys can be a part of the house. So I see a lot of new people coming in. So I'm just going to invite you guys. Good morning, Crystal. Good morning, Tobo. And you are in the house, Bootstrapping Business Ministry and Club. And today we are talking about a Mindset Monday, which is needed. Okay. I like to think my mind is good sometimes, but sometimes, it can be hard, especially with business, you guys. No one likes to do business alone. So I'm interested to see what Coach is going to be talking about today. Real quick, before we get into today's sponsor, which is AARP, what gets your minds right, John and Gardy?
So that's amazing. Let's rock there. First of all, I love the way my brother Gardy said, Medellin. I'm in Medellin. Talk that stuff, Gardy. He said, I'm in Medellin. And you got to have a mindset that's already beginning to shift or to be unorthodox, to begin to think about how you can even extend your stay from your vacation stay. That is a mindset, man. So I am in a mindset change because my life and my family life are in a transitional spot right now, and sometimes transition makes your mindset change. Or guess what, Rocky? It can handicap it or disable it because you don't have because you can't make the change. So even though you're physically, your human body may be changing, if your mind doesn't come with it, you'll take everything that you thought you left or transition from right on to where you are. And so that's what I've been working with and working through.
Oh, I love that, John. If you guys didn't know, John, he is on a journey to better health, and my brother is shrinking. You guys, how much have you lost so far, John?
56,
Woo!
56 millions. Well, I
Oh
know.
my,
I know they even say that
Let's
now.
go.
that is
They even
awesome.
say, hey, yeah, Gardy. From the last time you saw me, 218 was my last weigh in. I'm shooting for 200. Um, I like where I am now. I just, I just bought a new suit, Rocky, 2 weeks ago, and I told the guy, I said, man, when I come back, I'm gonna be, I'm,
I'm gonna need another
and
suit.
when I go back this week, he gonna have to alter it again. I was hesitating, but I had to buy it, Rock, because my good friend from elementary school all the way up to college, he's getting married in September. Couldn't wait to the last minute to get it because I know it takes a while to. So I don't know how this is gonna work out, but I'm gonna see if they can alter it one more time. So that's the only difference, and I've held off on buying other things because that's what they advise you until you get closer to your weight goal. Um, then to start buying things because things changing so quickly. And what's happening, Gardy and Rock, is that my metabolic momentum has kicked in, so
Yes.
even when I'm not trying to lose, my body's like burn, 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 burn. And I didn't believe it when I started the program. You hear them say, your body will end up clicking on as you eat cleaner and things happen. Everything starts to realign itself in your body the way God operated and wanted them to. And then things just take off. And you're like, yeah, yeah. But that's what's happening, Rock.
I
That's
think
what's
it's amazing. You're definitely motivating me. I've only lost, I'm not gonna say only because it is a big deal, probably about 12 pounds. But the fact that your motivation to keep going drives me. So I hired a personal trainer and I'm in there and it's right. As soon as it starts losing, it just falls off. So that's amazing, you guys. Light up the chat and congratulate my brother because that is a huge deal. And if you want to join me on KBCN, please join me on KBCN TV. Elaine is watching us from YouTube. She said, good morning from Poughkeepsie. Hopefully, Poughkeepsie. Poughkeepsie. I always
That's
mess it up.
Poughkeepsie, New York. I got you.
Thank you, Gardy. Brother, always coming through. All right, guys. So let's go to our sponsor today before Coach comes in with his monologue. Our sponsor for Bootstrapping Business and Ministry in October, you guys, a huge event is AARP Atlanta. They are the sponsor for Bootstrapping Redefined, and I'm excited about their support. AARP has nearly 38 million members, and their aim is to disrupt outdated stereotypes about aging and turn goals and dreams into real possibilities. Membership is available for everyone 18 years or older, and you can go to local.aarp.org, Atlanta, Georgia. You guys, I actually got an invite from AARP, and I was like, I'm not joining this. I'm not that old because I remember my dad being in the program, but then I saw the invite, and I was like, oh, they actually got a lot of stuff going on. So guys, check it out. It is not just for older people. Like it's for all of us. And I love how they're changing the stereotype. So with that being said, you guys, we're going to switch it over to Coach with his Mindset Monday monologue. Grab a pen and paper and write down your thoughts so we can discuss as soon as he finishes. So here is Coach with the Mindset Monday monologue.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Mindset Monday. I'm Glenn P. Brooks Jr., and I'm super excited about this part 2 of a series that I started last week around the idea of a leader's mindset. You know, a lot of us as leaders, we have found our way to leadership in many different ways. Some of us, quite frankly, this thing has been in you since you were a kid. You've always had the ability to lead people. I remember, at 3 and 4 years old, me always being able to move a crowd. and it was more than cute. I never will forget. There were times where, you know, barbers were amazed and would have conversations with my mom and say things like, how is it that this kid is having grown folks conversation with us, and he's so young? I've always had the ability to sort of curate a crowd of people, and thus had qualities, quite frankly, that when nurtured became qualities of a great leader. One of the things that I recognize, y'all, and when we talk about Mondays here on the morning show, my goal really is to really unpack certain kinds of mindsets to help people understand how to do what it is that they need to do. In many ways, it's not just a skill. It has to do with how you think. So we're going to get into something. I unpacked it. If you missed last week, go back, check out the replay. We're not going to recap. But what I am going to do is talk about the elements of a leadership mindset. Not everybody is a leader. I get that. But for those of us who either desire to be our leaders and you want to grow, we're going to talk a little bit about the mindset that you need to be thinking through and have adapted in order to be able to do that successfully. So I'm going to give you 4 things, and I just want you to write it down. We're going to unpack this after this segment, but I want you to write this down. One is that a leadership mindset is a mindset that's able to look to the future. A leadership mindset means becoming comfortable with change. When leaders get into a fixed mindset, they start to miss important developments and can very quickly fall behind. Let me say this so that y'all are really clear. All of us, I don't care who you are, whether you're a good leader, bad leader, a super successful leader, you struggle with certain mindsets that cause you to become fixed, particularly when you're having success. I need y'all to lean into this. Most leaders are crippled by their own successes, and it renders you in a place, or it puts you in a place where it's really difficult for you to think about the future because, quite frankly, you've already accomplished that. There's a book called What Got You Here Won't Get You There. And in the book, the premise really talks about the idea of you being basically crippled by your success. Leaders or a leadership mindset is a mindset that consistently looks toward the future. It doesn't mean that we don't celebrate our successes, we don't revel in them, we don't have a great time, but it constantly means that I'm always thinking ahead. As a leader, particularly when you're an entrepreneur, if you are not finding yourself working on your business more than you're working in your business, I can promise you it's a matter of time before you won't have a business. I can't say that again. You have got to carve out time to dream. Because here's what I can promise you. If you're really successful at what you do, that time is just not going to show up. You're not just going to find the time. You're going to have to intentionally carve out time for you to think through, okay, what does it look like for me to think about what's next? And I'm not talking about next week. I'm not talking about next month. I'm talking about next quarter. I'm talking about next year. Today, we live here in Panama City, Panama, but I can promise you it was the beginning of our 8-year journey in entrepreneurship that we began to look ahead to the future and say, hey, where do we see ourselves in the next 10 years? Well, what we didn't recognize is that the momentum that we would have in our business would cause that to be shortened to the point to where we recognized that we had built such a online presence that we could do what we did from anywhere in the world. And the question became, if that's true, then where would we like to do this? And so that began our search. So when people look up and they see that we all of a sudden moved to Panama, I promise you, we've been looking to the future of what it would look like to do business abroad for quite some time and doing the research surrounding it. So I want you to think through, what does looking to the future look like for you? And as a leader, I can guarantee you the kind of mindset that you need to have is one that constantly is thinking like, what's next? Now, I'm going to give this caveat. I don't think it's productive to allow what's next to crowd out or snuff out today. John Maxwell wrote a book years ago called Today Matters. And in that book, it really deals with the fact that You can't be so concerned about the trees or the forest that you don't see the trees. Does that make sense? So I do want you to pay attention to today, stay in today, be successful in today, but position yourself, carve out some time. For me, it's an actual time where I commit to dreaming. And it looks different in different seasons in my life, but it's something that I actually put on a calendar. And I want you to really get to the place where you can embrace that. It'll help you to develop that mindset of being able to look to the future. Number two, a leadership mindset is one that's a mindset that's centered around resourcefulness. Write that down. Strong leadership means being open to multiple approaches and various sources of information. Now, let me say this. All of us, in many ways, are creatures of habit. It's a human condition. It's not something that I'm, more. In other words, it's not something that some have a more affinity towards than others. All of us can find ourselves in positions that where, quite frankly, we are just limited and closed-minded, and we don't see outside of our current circumstances. So you have a tendency, a propensity towards being fixed minds, gravitate towards a fixed mindset. Why am I saying all this? Because your ability to be resourceful is a mindset. So for me, and I'll just use this as an example, many people think of the term bootstrapping as a place. For me, it's a mindset. Let me give you an example. Years ago, when I first started out in the business that we're in, I have to, full transparency, it's the only business I've ever owned. I am not a serial entrepreneur. I've not done multiple things. Now, I've had multiple career stints in different industries, if you will. So I have multiple experiences, but in terms of starting a business, this is the first one. So for me, I had to be resourceful from day one, but it was the fact that I thought, and my mindset around bootstrapping was a little different than most. Most people, when they hear the word bootstrapping, they think, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, duct tape this thing so it will work, cover it, do what you can till you get what you need. You know what I'm saying? Chuck Brown made that famous, right? Sometimes you got to use what you got till you get what you need sometimes, y'all. Y'all remember the song. But the challenge is that sounds awfully like a lack type of a mindset as opposed to an abundance mindset. For me, bootstrapping is a mindset. It's not a place that I'm navigating through until I get to. I'll give you another example. When we started out, I recognized right away that if we were going to grow exponentially, I needed people to come grow with me and help me do this. But whenever I invite people to come take a journey with me, I'm always really careful to get into their mind a little bit and find out what it is that they want and how can I help facilitate what they're trying to do as well. So yes, they may come alongside of me and offer this, and this, but what they're looking for me is this, and this. And together what we find is a strategic way to partner so that we both get our needs met. Sometimes that does not involve exchanging money. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it involves a time commitment where I may go to work with somebody and help support them through a window for a certain period of time so that I can help get them off the ground so that once they get off the ground, it builds something that I can use later for something that I'm doing. Does that make sense? So with that being said, I stay in a place of resourcefulness. I stay in a place in a mindset of how can I add value to you? Because what I know to be true, if I add value to you, it's reciprocal. You reap what you sow. So if I sow value, then often I'm going to get value in return. So I want you guys to think through that if you're going to embrace the elements of a leadership mindset, resourcefulness has to be one of them. Number three, and I hope you guys are getting something, put it in the chat if you're getting something out of this or you have a takeaway. The question or the third thing that I want you to consider is, do you have a heart for people? Let me tell you something, leaders, please hear me clearly. Many of us as entrepreneurs started out on this journey just to do a thing. Y'all, we wasn't looking to connect with people. We weren't looking to necessarily add value to people. We just wanted to bake cakes because we love it. We just wanted to maybe, help produce music because we just loved it. Here's what we found out, though, that if you really are good at what you do, it's going to attract people. And once that happens, people are going to either want to buy your services and products, or they're going to want to work with you or work for you even. Sometimes it will attract people who want to collaborate, and they want to figure out, how do we bring our two brands together? Because I do this, really doesn't compete what you do with what you do, but it complements significantly. Can we work together? Well, all of those things really are going to involve you having to work with people. If you do not have a heart for people, if you do not have a genuine desire to see people win, it is going to be very, very difficult for you to grow your leadership. Your mindset in that area is going to have to shift. I'll give this last example. My wife laughs now because there's times she's had to admit, I don't like people very much. This was years ago when we first met. But what she recognizes is that liking people has caused her not to attract people to help her in times that she needs some wisdom or she needs some advice, because she doesn't like people. And so therefore she's not going to ask them. Well, after hanging out with me for a number of years, I think I rubbed off on her a little bit in this way, that now my wife has a genuine heart for people. As a matter of fact, our MAPS Relationship Academy is characterized by us showing up and adding the kind of life changes and wisdom to people in a way that it transforms their life. She loves being in a space where she gets to touch the heart of people. She wasn't always like that. She developed that along the way. And this is the thing that I'm talking about. A leader, if they're going to have a leader's mindset, they're going to have to adopt a true heart for people. Last thing I'll leave you with on this is leaders must show empathy when others are struggling, personally or professionally, and they can't be afraid to have the hard conversations, to have a heart for people, that they care more about the outcome than they do necessarily your feelings. In other words, I'm not going to shrink back from speaking truth to you in love because I'm really concerned about the outcome of our situation. What I need you guys to understand is that if you have a heart for people, it changes everything. Last one, and this is huge, and I hope this is making sense to you. If you're going to adopt a leadership mindset, you have to have in traffic an honesty and transparency. There are few things people hate more than being lied to. When I was in radio, I quickly discovered that the sales reps that worked for me as a station manager had agendas. And I didn't often know what those agendas were. I worked in my last job for CBS Radio, and it was in the DC market, a high attracting, high level, very popular brand. So when salespeople came from one job to this one, or from another sales position, maybe at another radio station, this particular radio station was somewhat coveted in a lot of ways because we were the number one station for what we did in the marketplace, and had history a whole bit. So oftentimes when I encountered a person who wanted to come work for us, I discovered that they had an agenda. I learned very quickly it pays for me to really be honest and open and transparent to them about what my agenda is. Because if I can be very clear and very honest and very transparent, what it does is it creates an environment for them to do the same. In other words, you can't share your heart and people not want to share theirs. The problem is that most people want to hear other people's hearts, but they don't want to reveal what's going on in theirs. So one of the things that I would do in our interviews, and I would say things like, just so that you're clear, I have an agenda. If we should work together, if I should hire you, here is what I'm trying to accomplish. And I would lay out my agenda. Now, my question is, if you came to work here, what's your agenda? And I would hear them listen, make enough money for me to retire early so that I can take my son and move out of the country. I've heard those kinds of things. My agenda is to be able to become the number one sales person on your team because accolades mean something to me. I'm a go-getter. I've won championships all my life, and I want to come here to win championships with a big organization. Like, those are people's honest and transparent agendas. But as a leader, what it would do is it would help me to be able to lean in to how do I make that happen? If we work together, how do I come to a place where I can help make those or facilitate some of those things coming to be the case? I've had people say, my agenda is to have your job. I used to love that, because here's what I knew. I wasn't going to do this forever. And I would be more than happy to train you to do what it is that I do so that you can replace me. Because if you're replacing me, hey, here's what I can promise you. I'm going on to either higher heights or to bigger passions, things that I want to do that, quite frankly, I need to get rid of the thing that I'm doing in order to embrace that. I hope this is helping you guys. These 4 things, again, honesty and transparency, having a heart for people, being resourceful, and being able to look in the future are all the things that I really believe that you need to embrace if you're going to have a leadership mindset. The question is this: what is holding you back from fully adopting a leadership mindset? I'll ask it again. Based on all the things, maybe you can resonate with 1 of the 4, 2 of the 4, 3 of the 4, all 4 of the 4 things that I shared. What is the one thing that's holding you back from being able to fully embrace a leadership mindset? And if perchance you already do, what have you done to get there? That's the question. At the end of the day, here's what I know to be true. You cannot get to any place of significance by yourself. I appreciate you guys for pulling up for another Mindset Monday.
Ooh, so good, you guys. And because Coach mentioned this song, I gotta play it. Gotta play it, you guys. That was such a good segment. I took so many notes. So many notes. So hopefully you did as well. If you guys resonate with that, put a 1 in the chat. George W. Hawkins on Facebook said, good stuff, brother. So good. I'm going to let the lyrics play for a little bit because I took notes, you guys. Note queen. Love it, love it, love it. So we're gonna open up the stage in a little bit, you guys. But I wanted you guys to listen and think about it. Think about it. So the question was, if you guys didn't hear it again, I will refresh your memory, and I'm going to go over the 5 things as well. He said, what is holding you back from being able to embrace a leadership mindset? And if you have embraced a leadership mindset, what did you do to get there? And to go over it again, the first one is the ability, being able to look to the future and be comfortable with change. Number 2 was on resourcefulness, the ability to, have multiple sources to help you get to where your leadership is foundational. Number 3 was, do you have a heart for people? Number 4 is the ability to show empathy when people are struggling. And number 5 is, how are you getting to the sale? How, people hate being lied to, pretty much. Are you being honest with your people? So to the question, and I'll open the floor to John and Gardy, what is holding you back from leadership mindset? Or if you are there and you've accomplished the goal of meeting all of these criteria he put, what did you do to get there? And I'll mute. Pass it to you guys.
Yeah. So, Gardy, I'll shoot first. So, I am there now. I wasn't there. So, I've been on this journey as an entrepreneur since 2001. I became a full-time entrepreneur in 2017. So, in between 2004 and 2017, between leadership classes, self self work, working on myself, the inner work. You hear a lot now, doing the inner work, emotional maturity, circle changes of influence, humbleness. Had to be humble, because you can be so arrogant or so full of yourself that you don't even think you need anything. Life situations have brought me to a place where now I have resources. I Resources have always been kind of my number one thing. So that wasn't always something I had to work at. So that one's checked off. But empathy, Rocky, empathy is the last piece of my leadership cog that I had to sharpen because I was not very empathetic um, when it came to my team because I had this attitude at first. If you signed up to get it done, then you need to get it done. And my team often says it to me now, and I got offended maybe a year ago, but James would say something to me like this all the time. Like he'll say, man, had that been the old John Schultz, you would have cut them up to pieces. Hey, man, you didn't say nothing to them? If that was the old John Schultz, and I used to get offended, but now when I hear it, that means not only am I exhibiting growth, but I'm actually executing growth and emotional uh, maturity. And so now I'm glad to say I had that. So I am empathetic. I'm not an enabler, but I am empathetic. I'm done speaking.
I love that, John. And there's two things that stood out to me when you said that. And a question I have for you actually is because you mentioned having a good circle. And I like to call it the circle. Have y'all seen the movie Meet the Parents? The Circle of Influence. Do you
Yes,
think that having a good circle means you also have good resources because you're able to communicate that within your circle?
I agree 100%. Your circle of influence can impact you negatively or positively. Um, and you might hear people say this, Rocky, who's speaking into your ear?
Mm,
Who's who has the last point of entry into your ear gate? In a lot of marital relationships, you might hear it referred to as pillow talk, right? So if things need to really get done, a lot of people, if they can get to your wife or get to your husband and influence them or persuade them to talk to you during your intimate time, your pillow talk, a lot of times, most of the times, that decision is going to be made when you come out of that situation like, wait, I wasn't even thinking that way. So if your spouse, if your business partner, if those who are in your immediate circle do not understand your vision or have the believe in the best about you, your business or situation, or your community, your intimate village doesn't understand who you really are, as much as you maybe feel like they're supporting you, they actually can be handicapping you because your ear gates are open because you trust them because they're quote unquote in your inner circle. So when you change that circle and you begin to see things change based on new information, new resources, which goes back to what you're saying, new resources, then you almost find out almost an aha moment like, wow, I should have been changed my circle. And sometimes it's at a detriment after something major has gone and you had it in your gut rock or the intuition, but you ignored it because you couldn't believe or you were in denial that your inner circle, I don't want to say betrayed you, but did not have the best of interest for you.
Ooh, that's so good, John. And I also like my mom said all the time, guard your ear gates. I'm like, what? You have to be in my thought process, you have to be really secure in yourself, in your business, because if not, your circle will change your whole business because you've taken in everything someone has said to you about your business, your leadership style, etc. And that's something that I've learned is you have to be secure in what it is that you know and to know when your circle needs to change. I've experienced that myself here, either on Clubhouse or other areas, and that's why I connected with this community and it has been the best for me because my old circle prior to joining this community was different. Like it was very negative and draining. So I love that. Gardy, I'll pass it to you if you're available to speak. Anything you want to add when it comes to leadership? And again, the question is, what is holding you back from being able to embrace the leadership mindset? Or if you have embraced the leadership mindset based off of those 5 things coach mentioned, how have you done it?
Yeah. So when I rehear the question, I honestly think is, being in the right environment, being, around people who are actually doing it on a day-to-day basis. And I think leadership is something that, it takes time. It takes time for you to develop those skills. And I think that you have to first be in a position to like be open to like receive. A lot of times my experience in the G-Man community was that, you had to get like poured into. So you got to be willing and able to be coachable, be able to like receive advice. And then, once you start, learning these lessons and you start showing up and you start applying it, then I think, it switches where you start pulling from the community and then you start pouring into the community. Because then, I started noticing, new brothers coming in, new people coming in. And then I had the support of other guys, that was like pushing me to become better. And, just supporting the call, just supporting the group. So I think, it takes, if you're not there yet, I think it's okay. But I think it honestly just takes, being in the right environment, and really be willing, I honestly don't think like it's meant for everybody, and it shouldn't be meant for everybody. There's a reason why leaders are leaders, and there's a reason why people are not. So that's kind of my viewpoint on that.
Oh, that's so good, Gardy. I want to put it in the chat, you guys. Are you guys coachable? Because when Gardy said that, my ears perked up because I consider myself very coachable, but I wasn't at first. It is hard to be coachable sometimes, especially when you are an expert or what you consider to be an expert in your field. So put it in the chat, you guys. Do you consider yourself to be coachable? And if you're not, that's okay. You can learn to be coachable. It's 1000% possible. I had to train. Someone had to show me how to be able to be coachable and actually take action. So if you're coachable, put a yes in the chat. If you're still growing, just put growing in the chat. So very, very good. Nora said, when your inner circle consists of a family member, and she's on LinkedIn. Hey, from LinkedIn. She said, when your inner circle consists of a family member, you are much slower to change that circle. But 60K later, she finally changed the circle. And I have to agree. I think about the people that are in a family business, it can be very difficult, or those that come up in business with family, it can be difficult as well because they want the best for you, but they may not understand the business or even your space or your piece inside of the business. To that point, Nora, I will say, I'll pass it to you, John. My family doesn't get into. I mean, they're not in the business with me, but my family doesn't get into my business. They have no clue what I do. I mean, my mom does when I share my wins, and she's like, "What is this?" Now she's inquisitive. She wants to know what it is and what I'm doing, but she never inserts her opinion or her thoughts, or she'll give me advice, but it's never like, you should do this, you should do that, etc. So it depends on the situation, but absolutely your family can pull you left or right. Go ahead, John. I'll pass it to you.
Right. So, wow. The family thing, yeah, I'm kind of in the state where you are, Rock. Very good support from my family, but they're not actually in it. I would hope that one of them or one of my siblings or something would look at it a little bit harder, just because I think it could be transformative. But my older sister Terry has her business, and she is a great business mind. We just operate a little bit differently on how business should go. She very, very much loves to work in her business. Well, I very much like to work on my business. And I think that goes down to our core values, where her values is quality, high level customer service. And she's the only one that probably can do it. Where I like high quality customer service, but I don't want to be the only one that will do it. And I think those two different perspectives changes how we look at business. The other thing about coachable, so for a minute, I didn't understand, Rocky, that when people would say to me, "You're not listening," that I really wasn't listening,
Mm.
right? So I had to move. So I stayed for years in a period of defense because I literally took everything personal, especially when it came down to areas of my expertise. I got very defensive and became very personal. as these different perspectives, and then here's the key word, right? That these different perspectives were attacks on my expertise instead of understanding that they were different perspectives. Once I began to learn to not take things personal and not to absorb them, I then became a better listener because I was seeking to listen to understand instead of to listen to come back and rebuttal. And so I am now coachable. Once again, that still lends itself back to that empathetic or empathy role that, hey, there are other varying perspectives and opinions that come out of your team. If you listen, you might not be working so hard, or this road may not be as arduous as it should not be, because I've taken the time. So I love that. Coachable is different in different people's perspective. For me, it was taking the time to listen to other perspectives that normally added something that I never thought about because I was so locked in to my expertise. And sometimes being an expert or a subject matter expert closes our mindset to not be open for what may be something new on the horizon. So thanks, Rob.
Oh, so good, John. I was First of all, you stung me. I'm gonna tell you why. And then I was like, "Ooh, this is so good." You stung me because I was that person. I know my stuff. Like, I am the social media queen. But I learned that I don't listen all the time. For one, that goes back to history. My dad is 83, you guys still living, and we didn't get grounded. We got lectured. So my dad talks a very long time. I'm talking hours. And so now when people talk to me, I'm there. I hear words, but I'm not listening to understand. And oftentimes, especially when it comes to somebody else telling me something about my industry, I was closed off. I shut down completely until I became coachable. And now, I actually go to other people to listen when it comes to the industry, because your ears can't be everywhere. So that is so good. Um, and then also, John, Nicole, and I'm going to go back to something Tessie and Iris said, but Nicole asked a question. She said, "Can you please explain the difference between working in and working on your business?" So, John, if you could answer that, and I'll give you an example, you guys, from me, because I'm going through that right now. Go ahead, John.
Oh, wow, Rock, let's roll. So, okay, working in your business is when you're in the position as owner and operator. All right. So you own it, but in order for the business to run, you literally have to be the one that operates every facet of the business. If you're in consultation, you have to do every call, every Zoom, every site visit, everything that deals with the business. You have to do it. When you're working on your business, you're still the owner, but you have now set up procedures, processes, and enable and empower people to work in the business so that you can either one or two things. You can go out and make more sales as the owner, so add more clients. Number two, you can free up your time so that you can be more creative and and be at a higher altitude so you can see where the company is going, so you can keep projecting or seeing where you are. And three, it allows you the opportunity to see the health of your organization because you are looking at it from the outside the frame type of perspective. So that's just kind of my definition. It may not be the textbook, but that's the difference between on it and in it. When you're in it, you can't really see everything because you are working everything. When you're on it, working on it, you get to look at it from a different perspective or a higher altitude, a bird's eye view, so you can look down and see what's going on.
Oh, that's so good, because I think that affects your leadership too. I'm gonna be honest, because when I go through what Coach is talking about, I think being in Working in versus working on affects your leadership. And I'll give you an example for me. For my marketing agency, I do social media management, but I have a marketing agency. But right now, it is just me and another person. I have two employees, me and somebody else. So working in my business is Rocky still manages accounts. I still create content. I still do the engagement. I still do everything. Working on is me building up my brand in my business. I still need to put out my courses. I still need to put out my webinars. I still need to, advertise this business, work on my SEO, work on all those things. So that's me working on. So I'm working in and on my business. But eventually, I want to work on my business without being in my business. That's where, I hired a VA. She's working for my content creation now. I can hire other people to come on as the social media managers for my clients. So therefore, they can work in my business and I can work on my business, which is building the brand and building out the agency. Gardy, I'm going to pass it to you when it comes to that because I see you as someone that is all the way in in your business. Is there a difference between in and on for you and you're in the real estate space?
Yeah. I think, it really boils down to what really works best for you. And I think in the beginning of business or starting a business or anything, it's important to continue to work, in your business, right? You want to know exactly how to do, every single role. So as I'm learning, the practical advice is, put somebody in place, to like run the cash register, make the calls, things like that. But, I think you have to like work in your business to truly get a pulse, to know exactly, what it feels like and how to be able to, specifically in real estate, handle the objections, know, what's the deal, what's not a deal, how to be able to talk to people. And I think it's important to still have, to really still have like a presence in your business, because there's a difference, and at least in my eyes, there's a difference from like when you do it versus when somebody else is do it. I think your energy and your presence could actually speak, and I think it takes some time to be able to find the right people and be honestly in the right place to be able to sit here and say like I could pass this off to somebody else in my business to be able to keep it running. I like working, man. I really like, like working hard, being able to do the things, that I could do. And I realize, that's my strong suit. And that's how I'm able to put some of these deals together because I could be the person on the ground being able to do the heavy lifting. So, I do enjoy working in my business. And, my end goal is not to have, some massive business where it's like I have 100 employees and they're all taking care of everything for me. Like I like something small. I like something where
That's
we do make
manageable.
a lot of money but the expenses are low. Things like that. It's like you don't really have to. I guess the point that I'm trying to make is like find what works for you, because like what's for you is going to be what's for you. And I think sometimes we look at other things and other people's businesses and say like, I want that. And if it doesn't look like that, then it's like, I'm not where I want to be. But, with my experience now, I know exactly what's for me. And I know exactly like what I want. And, it's going to take a heavy lift for me to get there. And I'm fine with that.
Oh, that's good. We'll always, I mean, when we talk about working on and in, you will always have to be in your business somewhere. Don't think you can completely back away and not work in your business because at some point, like I already said, you have to be in there and know what's going on. So I want to break down these points. And what I'm going to ask you guys is to go ahead and start raising your hands to start coming up to the stage because we want to hear your thoughts. Okay. But here are some things I want you guys to think about when coach brought up these points. These are questions in my head. Okay. The first one was he said you must be able to look to the future and be comfortable with change. However, as he was talking, I was thinking, being comfortable with change, how do you act when you have to make a change, because I am a big old crybaby when it comes to change. I just don't like it. I'm a person of routine, and it's so funny because I'm bopping all over the place, but I am a person of routine. If I'm doing this at this time every day, if I have to do something different in my business at a certain time, I'm like frantic and all over the place. So be able to change. However, how do you act when you have to make a change? I want you guys to think about that and consider that. And then he also mentioned, are you looking to the future, but also don't be so consumed with the future that as a leader, you're not paying attention to your present. And I saw that as daydreaming. I live in the future every morning at 4 a.m. Coach said he has a time that he does it. So do you have a time where you can project and think about your future? Now, I'm not going to go down the path of manifestation and prayer and all that kind of stuff. But when you think about things, God does say, claim what you are going to be and what's going to happen. Do you have a time set aside for that? And are you, present in the present time as well? So think about that as well. Okay. Number 2 was resourcefulness. All right. I love a good resource, and we dive into resources all the time. But with the world of AI, I can only use me and Cherie as an example. Don't be so overloaded with your resources that you don't take action on those resources. Okay. So, yes, you're learning AI. Yes, you're learning YouTube. Yes, you're learning Google. Yes, you're learning SEO. But are you just learning? Or are you actually doing the leadership thing and implementing those things into your business? Okay. So if you drown yourself out with resources, remember they're resources. It's supposed to help you, but it's not helping you if it's taking you away from what you are trying to do. Okay. And the next thing he said is, do you have a heart for people? What came up for me was, listen, we can tell when you're not a people person, because it's in your attitude, it's in how you talk, it's in how you walk, it's in how you sell your products, it's in how you display yourself. If you're not a people person, it is okay. Matter of fact, I'm going to say this as a social media person, it's in how you don't show up as well. I.e., I don't want to show my face on video. I know that stung to some of you guys. I don't want to show my face on video. For me, I don't want to be in a photo shoot. I still, after 10 years, you guys, have not had a branding photo shoot for myself, but I'm starting to get comfortable and show up more. So if you are not a people person, what I'm going to say is go to a course. I know it sounds so silly, but I remember when I first started at Hampton University, one of the first things we had to take was interpersonal communications. And that course changed my life. How do you talk to people? Are you listening? Like John mentioned earlier, are you listening to, understand and be clear and help with them? Or are you just listening just to listen and go on about your business? Okay. So are you a people person? And how can you get to be a people person in your business? Number 4, showing empathy when people are struggling. There's a difference between sympathy and empathy. Sympathy is like, oh, I'm sorry you're going through that. Empathy is like, wow, I've been there before. I'm putting myself in your shoes. I know how you feel. We all have struggled in our business. And I'm not going to say everyone has struggled in their business somewhere, right? So are you sharing and showing that empathy when they are struggling? And basically, are you helping them as well? Okay. And then honesty. Are you being honest in your business when it comes to your sales and how you function as a business? And let me tell you, you guys, nothing boils my pot more when you when you have a sale up and then we go to the sale and they're like, yeah, I forgot to take the prices down and the sale's still up, but we can't give it to you. You better, because that's the sale you kept up. Or saying, we only have limit of 5 left. And then after those 5 are gone, you're still selling to folks. We see that, right? And that reflects on your leadership. So right now, you guys, I'd love to invite you up to the stage, hit you with the unicorn, raise your hands. The hands are open 1000%, you guys. And I want you guys to come up. So I'm going to give time, you guys, as I reset and welcome you into the Bootstrapping Business and Ministry house. And it is a Rocky John and Gardy takeover as the boss is on vacation. Y'all know what happens when the boss is on vacation, right? People act up.
Exactly.
So welcome to the house, you guys. Welcome, Mama Pat. Hey, Nona. Welcome to the stage. Welcome, Mama Pat, Tammy, Dr. Pam, my good sis Lanita. Hey, Robert. Hey, Miss Jill. Thank you for coming into the room. Santa Maria, Miss Karen. Hey, Travis Michelle. Good morning. Hey, Tessie. Tessie still owes me some sushi, you guys. We're supposed to go on a sushi date a long time ago. I'm free today, Tessie. Let me know. Keitra, my brother Favor. Hello, Alexis. How you doing? Nice to see you. Carolyn and Carolyn. Carolyn and Carolyn. How do y'all end up on the stage beside each other every single show? Are y'all planning this? Takia, welcome to the stage. Miss Kathy, Iris, Latondra, and Stephanie. Welcome, welcome, welcome. My girl Nivea. Hey, Nivea. Join this house, Nivea. It is absolutely amazing. You're going to love it. Michelle, Nicole, Michael, and Lolly. Hopefully it's Lolly with the zebra. And Michelle just walked into the room, you guys. So love the conversation that we're having, you guys. Raise your hands, come up, and guess what? If you're not going to raise your hand, guess what Rocky's going to do? The Rocky effect, and I'm going to invite you to the stage so we can be a part of the conversation. So I'll give you guys a minute. In this meantime, you guys, let's see who has shared the room. We have 14 shares. Iris shared. She said, "Are you honest, a leader, and do you have empathy?" Love that. Anisha shared the room. Lanita said, "Come tap into the conversation." Mama Pat said, "Rocky's here today. Join us." Hey. Dr. Pam said, "Join the room for Mindset Monday." My good friend Alessandra said, "Let's get some mindset on." Lisa says, "Get the Monday morning conversation going." And if you guys could do me a huge favor, click on the square, share the room. It doesn't seem like anyone is raising their hands. No worries. I'm just going to invite you up here. Some people I know will want to talk. And if you guys can add to the conversation, that's great. That's great. And if not, that's fine as well. I've sent you guys invites. It's up to you to come up. So, all right, you guys, I'm going to reset what the topic was once again for Mindset Monday on what Coach was talking about, you guys. And he is talking about leadership and what is holding you back from being able to enhance your leadership mindset, and what is it about the 5 things that he spoke of that you probably need to work on, or if you've done it already, what has worked for you. So again, number 1 was the ability to look to the future and be comfortable with change. Number 2 was your resourcefulness, having multiple sources. And I like that John brought in the fact of having a good circle of support. Number 3 is, do you have a heart for people? Are you a people person? Number 4, can you show empathy when people are struggling? And number 5, are you an honest leader? Because people hate being lied to. So we're open up the stage. Nona, I see you on stage. Welcome. Love to hear your thoughts on the topic.
I think for me, one of the things that struck a chord with me was the conversation that you guys had about working in versus working on. And I'm working in my business right now. I don't have a business necessarily to work on. I have a 9-to-5. So I'm working in my field, and I'm thinking about a business related to my field. And I personally think it's so important to work in your business before you work on your business, because one of the things that I hate is having the manager or that never worked in the business. I think it's so important, and to borrow an Army term, I think it's so important to be a foot soldier before you try to be a general. Because, for example, I was in the school system, and I hated when I had principals or superintendents or education department heads who were never school teachers, because they would come up with all these grand ideas. And as a school teacher, I was like, you've never been in a classroom, and these things do not translate. And so, and had you been in the classroom, you know these things do not translate. So I just think it's so important to work in your business or in your field before you try to work on it, so that when you do work on it, you can have that heart and that empathy, and you can really do the things that make sense because you worked in it and you know the ins and outs.
Ooh, so
So
good. Nona, I'm
that's
gonna
my
I'm
piece.
gonna take the Army reference to you, and I know Lanita knows what I'm talking about. You have to work in your business, and I remember and this is those military vets. If you're a military vet, put a one in the chat. Those lieutenants that come in. The lieutenants that come in and they don't have the training. I mean, they have the training book wise, but they haven't been in and on the ground and in the field working these systems or none of that stuff. And here you go. There's a brand new lieutenant that's coming over and telling you what to do, how to do it, when to do it. I can only think about my good friend. She was deployed in Afghanistan, and she'd been out there for 15 months was the tour. So I think she had been out there 10 months already. And a lieutenant came over, and he's like, "Go investigate that pile of trash over there." And she's like, "Sir, no, that may be an IED, that may be something dangerous. We don't just go investigate stuff. We send, we call in the IED specialists and etc. before we even just go over there." And he was just telling her blindly what to do when he had just gotten overseas. So it is important for you to work in, of course, then before getting on. And also, how are you supposed to set up your system and your SOPs if you haven't been down as a foot soldier, like Nona said? So that was so good, Nona. Love it. Lanita, welcome, sis, to the stage. Anything you want to add about leadership? What is holding you back? Or if you've conquered these things, what has helped you? I'll toss it to you.
Good morning, sis. Good morning, everyone. Can y'all hear me? Because I don't got my headphones in today.
Yeah,
All right.
Loud and clear. You good?
All right. So, based on the key areas, I'm not going to say I've mastered it because every environment is different for me. So I've gone through and been in different environments, being in the military, the tactical to strategic, all of that. And then when it comes to business, the brick and mortar, I really haven't had that, but I've had the online experience, which continues to shift based on technology. So I would say adaptability for me is the key that I've mastered, the adaptability when it comes to leadership and actually not thinking so much, not focusing so much just on the future, because you have to be present as a leader too to see what's going on to actually make changes. But when it comes to because Nona talked about the working environment, because the working environment is related to business as well, especially if you actually have employees that you work with. And so I like to say that for me, military leadership is not necessarily the same as corporate leadership. There are some nuances, but you do have to think about that. Like for me, it's more of transitioning from what I know to how can I actually translate it to another environment to actually get the buy-in from everyone when I actually have the employees, if I desire to in business, because right now I'm a solopreneur. But those are things that I would consider, but adaptability is something that I have mastered based off of the environments I've been in and continuing to learn. One of the things I want to talk about really is the resources that you mentioned. I would say this is something I'm still working on. You know how we actually, as entrepreneurs, leaders, even if you have a 9-to-5 or a non-traditional job, position, profession, we tend to have resources and we tend to hoard it. So as leaders, it is not our responsibility to hoard information. It's our responsibility to distribute it. And we distribute it in our special way, our unique talents, and how we push it out to those that we serve. So if you're thinking about business, if you're a solopreneur, you have resources, you get educated, and you just letting stuff sit. I'm one of those people. I would buy coaching programs, master classes, and didn't implement anything, but I felt like I was doing something. So I just think that it's important for us as leaders that know what we need right now and actually make sure we're taking action to implement so that we can actually make an impact for those that we serve. So that's all I have for now.
Ooh, Lanita, don't talk about me now. There's so many courses that I have not completed. So that was good. Go ahead, John. Anything you want to add? I saw you put 100 up a couple times.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, see, the one thing that I think, Lenita, that is relative and it is a part of each environment, regardless if it's government, military, or civilian life, is adaptability and adjustment. We cannot get away from that. And the quicker we understand and be in a place of under receiving that there are things that are going to change that are just out of our control, the better off we are to receive the change. Now, that does not mean that internally you're still maybe challenged with that. So, Rocky, you asked that question and Lenita answered it. If you ask that question, how are you with change? I receive change better now, but it's still a place of adjusting to it. And mainly for me, is because I had expectations of what I thought it would be. So even if I know change is coming, I am still in my mind trying to control what that change process may be. And so the disappointment or the way that the change goes down still can ruffle my feathers, if I don't allow myself to be adaptable to the change that did not go the way I wanted to, even though it may be necessary. So I love that whole aspect and component of adaptability. You have to do it in personal relationships, you have to do it in business relationships, you have to do it in equipment moves, building shifts. You can map it out, plan it out. If there's not a place to have change in your mind, then there's always going to be this confrontation, and it may not be outwardly, leader. It may be an inward confrontation and conflict that you're having that ends up spilling out onto the people who are there to help you because you have not had the ability to learn to adjust to change.
Oh, that's so good. Oh, I got so excited. I unmuted on Clubhouse. I'm so sorry. No, I was saying that was so good because, I think, and I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts. I think, is there a difference between you building yourself as a leader in these aspects that coaches talk about, and then how you push out leadership onto your business? I hope that makes sense. So I feel like if I am developing these 5 things for myself as a leader, for myself, because we were talking about in and on your business, then the adaptability piece in me moving around, or doing different things or change happening, I will carry those skills forward because the aspects that he talked about is in me. Okay. So I'm looking forward to the future, but I'm also in the present. I'm resourceful. I am, I'm empathetic. I'm able to, be honest and all of these aspects. I'm a people person. So if all of that is in me as a leader, and I know I have to adapt to change, then won't I carry that on with me, regardless of the situation of where I am? What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's definitely important to build yourself as a leader because for me personally, I think it's important to lead by example. And you can never ask anyone else to do anything that you're not willing to do yourself. So if you want your employees to be honest, your employees, your kids, whatever, to be honest, you've got to be honest first. If you want them to be adaptable to change or whatever, you've got to do it first. So I think naturally, if you build those skills in yourself and you can lead by example, then it'll make it so much easier to then turn around and tell other people what to do, so to speak, or how to be. Um, so, because I remember one time with public speaking, I'm in a public speaking organization, and I would tell people, "Oh yeah, join this organization. You're so much better as a public speaker," or blah blah blah. And it didn't seem to work. But then when I actually got up and did public speaking in front of my church, then people started coming up to me and saying, "Hey, I think I want to join that organization because I can see you and I can see how much better you are as a speaker." So when you can lead by example, it just makes it so much easier to, try to get other people on board and have them do it too, because they can see you. And then they're like, "Oh yeah, that makes so much more sense now."
That's good. And I'm going to tie that to what Lanita said. Share your resources, but don't hoard your resources as well, because as a good leader, you should want to push things forward. I know me and Dr. Tavis, we always share resources amongst each other. Like if I'm talking about something and she's like, "Oh, well, I have a course for that I can help you with." And, putting things out so that you can help other people. And also, like when Nona said, leading by example is huge. Another thing that we tapped into that he talked about when he talked about looking into the future, Coach Glenn, he was talking about comfortable with change. He also mentioned like success. And if has anyone in here, put a star in the chat if this is you, has anyone reached success really, really quickly and you didn't plan for the future of that happening? Or, I think about the viral stars that are out there, that go viral really quickly. And then they're like, "Okay, what do I do now?" I feel like it's because they didn't plan for the success. And that's a part of your future. So put a star in the chat. And if you didn't, say I'm growing, or put a growing in the chat. I will say I'm growing because, are you planning for the success that is going to happen in the future just in case, right? I I don't do that. John is rolling his eyes. Love to hear your thoughts, John.
Rocky, listen. When I got into this franchise business, right, I went in thinking, "Hey, I'm just gonna do this one truck, and I'm gonna work in my business. It's gonna be me and the ice cream truck, and I'm a lottie dottie, lottie dottie. We like to party, right? Right." So
That's how it goes.
2 days into the business, and my mom is on the truck with me. We're going to now listen. We're going to register the new food truck to the county where I'm going to be starting and moving around, matriculating around in the business for that community. And before we can get to the registrar office, my mother and I are getting weighed down by people on the street talking about I didn't have no ice. I didn't even have any flavors up yet. I was just going. We said we'll be back. When I made $300 to $400 in 5 minutes, I said, "Lord have mercy." My mom said, "Oh my God, what do we have here?" And so instead of trying to harness it, Rocky, the flamingo said, "I gotta get another truck." So within having the truck for 2 days, I went and ordered my second truck without even having the truck registered. So I went from 2 trucks to 5 trucks. I got a truck almost every year in my
Wow.
first 5 years. And I did not plan for the management and the people management to operate. I forgot, Rocky, for just a brief second that I could only drive one truck at a time.
Yeah.
Just a little, just a, just a little bit. And so now that on and in, actually the pandemic saved me because I would have had such a horrible customer service rating because um I overbooked like Delta on all my trucks, and I didn't have the people to drive them. And the pandemic slowed it down where it allowed us to put people and systems in place. Now I'm at a place where I can breathe again, but I can only imagine this Georgia heat and icy and flavoring. We would have lost business just because we wouldn't have been able to meet the client's needs because I was just saying yes to everything due to my excitement and no planning.
John, let me tell you, your business is, listen, we were in DC at the monument, no lie. And we were walking down the steps and walking up the steps, and it's hot. Virginia got this hot, humid. Matter of fact, the East Coast in general, hot, humid. And as soon as we seen that icy truck, we were running. I'm like, listen, we got to get this slushy. So your business is important. And then I have a question for you. I mean, this is me being a little bit selfish because the same thing happened with me, you guys. Social media management. I literally I took on clients for free for a while. And the way that I was growing their accounts really, really quickly, he was referring me to everybody. And I was like, okay, I got it. I got this. I got this. I got this. Even now, I put out a sale a while ago. The sale's gone, but it was $400 a month for management. That's $5 an hour because I'm like, I'm going to build my social proof, and people are coming from everywhere. And I was like, wow, I did not expect this. Matter of fact, I think I was on stage here, and I was like, oh my god, you guys, I'm overwhelmed because I'm by myself managing over 15 accounts. I was not ready for it. So, two things. Number one, I'm going to say plan for the success, even though you don't have it yet. Plan for the success. Act as if you're there. What is going to happen when you get there? So, Rocky, what are you going to do when you have 20 clients and it's just you and your VA? Okay. Plan for that success. But the question I have for you, John, and anyone can chime in, but the question I have for you is on the front end, because I heard you say, you had to hire people to run the truck. On the front end, do you take a profit loss in the beginning because you're having to hire out people before you can gain that profit back in? That's just a side question. I know it's off topic, but I was just curious.
No. So at that point, so yes, to answer your question. Now here's the beauty of it. My biggest expense is the financing of the food truck. So in my particular franchise industry, there is a cash capital commitment, and then there is a finance commitment, right? So you have to have $20,000 liquid cash. That goes towards 10,000 goes for the territory you purchase. The other 10,000 is now split up in your startup supplies, so all your cups, syrup, spoons, like just your startup supplies, and then the other 5,000 goes as a deposit to your truck. Now, my total expenses for a truck for the month is roughly between $3,500 to $4,000. Now, that number sounds very staggering when you first starting because you don't see how you can do it. But once my mom and I saw that we made that $300 to $400 in 10 minutes just because it was hot, we quickly came up with a formula. At that time, Stacy and I came up with a formula that we needed to make Rocky $300 a day for at least 5 days, because we did plan that we weren't going to work 7 days. So that's $1,500 a week, and it would meet the expenses. I was fortunate to have a circle of people that jumped in. Mr. James, my nephew, a couple of other people who jumped in, and I paid them in the beginning out of the money that was made that day. And then after I paid them out of the money was made that day, then I took everything else in, Rock. So I never felt a loss because I was able to multiply it. Now, here's the beauty of it. Everybody doesn't get this. Everybody's franchise doesn't work like this. But I walk in the fog. You know what the fog is, Rocky?
Not knowing?
No, favor of God. So anyway, I was walking in the fog, and when my first 28 days, I made almost $46,000. So any expenses I had, I put my money back that I borrowed from my 401k, and I had money to go. So I've been blessed. Everybody doesn't do that. That's how I knew I was supposed to be in that particular business, Rocky, because I didn't draw it up, I didn't plan it out, and so I was able to pay my good friends. At that time, it was just $10 an hour because that's all I could afford. But they was getting cash money, and there ain't no taxes on that first time. I had to do what I had to do in the beginning, and since then you build your business on the back end. But listen, I needed people to drive the truck, and I needed somebody who was going to count the cash money because it's 96% cash that comes in, very few credit cards. And I needed somebody who I can't watch all the trucks and I can't watch all the money. So I had to pick people who were going to account for the money, be fair, and wouldn't steal from me. And I have been very fortunate. It's been a horrible stories, but we have not experienced that. And for that, I'm grateful. And now, since then, we got systems put in. But before then, we had to go for that circle of influence. Rashida Griffin.
Yes, the circle of influence. No, that's good because you need like coach. I don't have the help me button. I don't have it, but we all need some help. And Nicole, she put it in the chat. She said, I make jewelry and always think about what happens when I have 50 orders at once. I want to make sure I'm able to show up and be consistent. And in my business as well, that actually helped as well, John, because there's two things I had to realize for me is number one, I have to raise my prices. Number one, I deserve that for myself for what I do, but also I need to be able to afford to hire out to get the help. You guys remember when I went back to my job, a lot of that was to help build my business and it worked. So make sure you at least can get to the point where you're hiring out. John, like he said, he had help. He was blessed with friends and family to help him out. Do you have friends and family that will help you out? I know when things get super tough, my daughter, my 18-year-old will help me out. She'll jump in the agency. She'll say, all right, mom, what do you need me to do? Do you need me to, she doesn't like it all the time, but if she get the money, she'll do it. She'll say, do you need me to manage accounts? Do you need me to comment on people's stuff? What is it that you need me to do? So you definitely want to reach out. So you guys, this has been a very, very good conversation. And I want to go back and recount what Coach was talking about today, you guys, on this Mindset Monday. And we're going to close out shortly. Okay. So just to recap what he said, let me grab my notes. I'm sure they, I feel like a reporter. They're all shuffled right now. He talked about the main point in leadership, you guys. Let me get this thing. Notes flying. He talked about being a leader. What is holding you back from leadership? And here are the key things to leadership. Number one, being able to look to the future and being comfortable with change. All right. Number two, are you resourceful? Okay. Are you resourceful and are you using them to be a great leader? Okay. Don't overload yourself. Don't get distracted. That's what I got. Lanita said, don't hoard it. I'm 1000% on it with her. Number three, do you have a heart for the people? Because people can tell, you guys, when you don't have a heart for them. Number four, showing empathy when people are struggling. What I'm going to say is remember your struggle and the things that you've been through. And number five, are you an honest leader? Okay. Are you an honest leader? People hate being lied to. So I'm going to pass it to John. Any closing words from you, John, before we close out the room?
Yeah, I mean, I love the way our room went today. And the statements, I want to take what Lanita gave us, the adaptability and adjustment. I think that is critical just to have that as a life skill, Rocky. Just something that we're gonna have to have.
Yes.
And if we can embrace it or lean into it, you might hear people use that phrase. We can lean into it and embrace it. I think that the change that we desire and the change that is unintended will be received, and we will respond to it better because we are expecting it to happen. I'll leave with this quote: growing things change and changing things grow. That's it.
I love it. John always leaves on those good notes, you guys. Hey, do me a favor, you guys. Just for me and John today, put it in the chat. Were we good hosts, me, John, and Gardy? put it in the chat. That way, when Coach watches the replays, he can trust us to run the rules again. So put it in the chat. Did we do a good job? This is family, you guys. It makes it so easy, so easy. So I just want to say thanks for joining us, Bootstrapping Business and Ministry, on this Mindset Monday. Thank you, Nona and Lanita, for coming on stage. Let me just say, you guys, James is the king. He's the king at media. He held me down this morning. I was like, James, what do I do? So send James some love in the chat as well. And again, thank you, Tammy, Dr. Pam, Robert, Jill, Santa Maria, Karen, Tessie, Keitra, Carolyn, Latondra, Marcus, Takia, Carolyn, Kathy, Iris, Stephanie, and Sean. Thank you for coming, Abraham, Nicole, Michelle, and Austin. And I'm going to, invite y'all to join the house. And what I do know, like we always say, is you can't do anything. How does it go, John? I forgot. I went blank.
You can't get to any place of significance by yourself. And that's because on 3, 2, 1, we
all need some help. Saved my life. All right, you guys.
One more sprinkle dust. One more to close it out.
Be blessed, you guys.
See y'all tomorrow.
Bye, you guys. This room will end in 3, 2, and 1.